Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another rock fantastic show of MPJ People's new rock album reviews. And I'm Nigel Matthews, and welcome to my wonderful crew today. Welcome to Dave, to Ian, to Trish, and to Paul. How are you all guys?
Good morning.
How are you all doing today?
Don't forget the extra member.
And we can't forget our old stalwart Chris, who, you know, he's not with us reviewing, but he's with us in spirit on his Panther riding across the desert. So we might just make him a permanent feature from that side of things as well. So anyway, what is this show all about? If you're tuning in for the first time, we are today reviewing two brand new rock albums, and we're going to pitch them head to head. Which one would we buy? And we're also going to rate them out of 5, where if they manage to score the mighty 20 out of 25, they'll get into our Hall of Fame and maybe even get into Album of the Year, the show at the end of the year where we rate our favourite albums of the year. Okay, so who have we got on the mighty show today? Wow, a big name we're reviewing today. We are reviewing the Foo Fighters and their new album, But Here We Are, and they are up against the Defiants on their album called Drive. Well, if you don't know, let's have a quick reminder about who the Foo Fighters are then. Foo Fighters, an American rock band formed in Seattle in 1994. Foo Fighters was initially formed by a one-man project by former Nirvana drummer Dave Grohl, following the succession of the 1985 eponymous debut album. Grohl, lead vocals and guitar, recruited band members consisted of Nate Mendel, bass guitar, William Goldsmith, drums, Pat Smear, guitar, and after a succession of lineup changes, including departure of Goldsmith and Smear, the band formed this core lineup consisting of Grohl, Mendel, Chris Shiflett, guitar, and they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2021. So, how can you describe them? The band members meld melodic and heavy elements. Grohl noted in 1997, we all love music, whether it's the Beatles or Queen or punk rock. And I think the lure of punk rock with the energy and intimacy, the need to thrash stuff around. Well, they've been obviously around a lot, and I kind of just didn't really, for me personally, just to put it out there, I didn't really kind of get into the Foo Fighters until really their last album, which was Medicine After Midnight. So I knew them, but I didn't really kind of listen to them per se. So anyway, well, let's start with who shall we start with today? Well, I think we should start because there's a new beginning for somebody here today, because you will recognise, if you're a regular to the show, the square red window. You know, it was always behind Dave. Is no longer there because Dave has moved. He's now into his brand new flat. So it's a brand new beginning. So let's start from the beginning, and let's start with Dave in his new flat. Hi, Dave.
Hello. So yeah,
Foo Fighters. Come on, fan, non-fan.
Yeah. Well, I am a fan of their previous stuff. I was a little bit disappointed with this, though, I've got to be honest. I mean, it's an interesting one. It's obviously the first album since they lost their drummer. So I don't know whether it was a case of they just wanted to get something out to get the next step underway, if you like, get things carrying on and moving in the right direction. But it just didn't seem to have the same energy. What you expect of the Foo Fighters just wasn't there. I mean, there's some good tracks on the album. It's not completely, devoid of any sort of entertainment there. But for the most part, it's just not what you would come to expect from them. It was just a bit sort of generic, just a bit bland. And as I say, they've done so much better.
Sure. Ian, Foo Fighters?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I've heard of the Foo Fighters. And I'm approaching this from a slightly different angle to Dave, and it's very interesting hearing that because I've never actually sat down and listened to a Foo Fighters album. Heard lots of their tracks, but I've never listened to an album. So my view on this is from a very uneducated view, album speaking. And I thought it was good, solid rock from a good, solid, reliable rock band. 100%. I absolutely enjoyed it. It was what I think there were tracks like Rescued and Under You, which had the hallmarks of just awesome Foo Fighters hits. basically. I don't want to use the word hits because that's very sort of, you know, pop chart and things, but you know, they're real anthemic of what they do best. I also loved Hearing Voices. Thought it was a cracking track. What I also enjoyed was that you had that big old thumping, fast-paced drumming and the bass and everything just going on that is synonymous to their sound. But I like that they had some more sort of slower paced, thoughtful, introspective tracks like The Teacher and Rest. And obviously, I don't know if that's the type of stuff they've included on previous albums at all, but that was very different from the Foo Fighters that I'm used to from a commercial point of view. So overall, I was blown away with how much I enjoyed the album. And I think I'm going to take Dave's comments on and listen to others and see if I can, you know, if that's how I feel about it as well after I've put it in context.
Yeah, Ian, I was in the same boat as you last time with Medicine for Midnight. I had not heard a Foo Fighters album previously, but anyway, or I heard the hits, but not an actual album. Trish, Foo Fighters. No, I know you are, you know, a big Foo Fighters fan. We almost went to see them, and obviously with the drummer passing away, whose name temporarily escapes me because I'm terrible.
Taylor Hawkins.
Yeah, Hawkins. Which, God rest his soul, what a drummer he was. What do you think of this album?
Well, I mean, I've seen them live, and I actually went to the Taylor Hawkins Foo Fighters tribute concert at Wembley. So, yeah, I know their sound. And for me, this album starts in the true Foo Fighters style with the banger of an opener with Rescued, followed by the pointedly written but still upbeat sound Under You about Dave's feelings at the loss of Taylor Hawkins, his best friend. And that is what the whole album is. It's a fitting tribute to Taylor and the Foos expressing all the emotions that involved. I mean, this is the Foo Fighters doing what they do best. Albeit from tragedy, something beautiful has evolved in this album.
Now, talking about something beautiful, we'll be moving on to Paul. Paul, Foo Fighters, somebody that has always just been in the background for you, or have you listened to their albums?
Yeah, I followed them quite closely because I was a Nirvana fan. So, and let's face it, Dave Grohl is a true rock legend and a workaholic in the music industry. In creating the Foo Fighters out of the ashes of Nirvana, he infused the Nirvana grunge sound with arena rock and brought it to the stadiums around the world. Anthems like My Hero and Best of You were world renowned. And then we came to But Here We Are, which is a statement album after the death of drummer Taylor Hawkins, who suddenly died last year with more chemicals in his body than is found in your average household medicine cabinet. The album is about Grohl coming to terms with the loss of his mother, aged 84. He returned to the drums for this album. Much has been written about the sensitivity of this album, about Grohl coming to terms with loss and grief, and as such the reviews out there have been positive and forgiving. Where they fail to mention, in general, is how bland this album is. Don't accept stompers like Best of You. In many respects, it sounds like a watered-down Nirvana. It feels like a watered-down Foo Fighters, who are still here, but just going through the motions. It's not a bad album, but it's not the album I would introduce to someone who wanted to hear what the Foo Fighters had to offer.
Yeah. For the people that know me, Foo Fighters Medicine for Midnight, which is the first proper album I'd experienced, like as a whole, for the Foo Fighters, run their hits, was without doubt, alongside Royal Blood in, I think it was 21, my album of the year. By a long shot, because you had a hard rock, you know, almost kind of massive heavy metal song in there. You had really good sensitivity. You had really good pop kind of tracks. It was just overall everything I love about an album, and its variation and its tempo and everything as well. But I loved it. And when I first listened, the first few times I listened to this album, because of the Foo Fighters, I had to give benefit of doubt. I was angry. I was genuinely angry. I was just genuinely going. I was a little bit upset as well, because the first, you know, and then I went back and listened to it again. I left it, another kind of few weeks beforehand. I listened to it again, and I listened to it when I was out for a walk, and for me, I identified the first 3 songs as being Grohl really overreaching, or he was almost screaming his vocals. His vocals, where before when he'd push it, it always felt in control, and it didn't. His vocals in the first few tracks where he was trying to be kind of right heavy, kind of metally, kind of like screaming, it just didn't work for me in comparison to Medicine for Midnight. It wasn't there, and it felt forced, and it didn't feel right, and it didn't suit his voice. But I also respect that he likes to try different things, but it just wasn't right, and it didn't feel right, and it didn't sound great either. After those 3 tracks, and because those tracks are quite early in the album, when I first listened to those first 3 tracks, it just turned me off. It just annoyed me. And when you get annoyed and you're in that frame of mind, it's then difficult to kind of process the rest of the album. But because it was Foo Fighters, because they were my album of the year, I thought, I'm going to actually try and get past that. And I have to say, the second album, in terms of the melodic rock element of what they do, is superb. I mean, it is. Hearing Voices, I agree, Nothing at All Beyond Me, Teacher, absolutely, they eventually, once I go, right, well, let's dismiss those first few tracks and let's just focus on the good element, which is the second half, I much more enjoy the album. So would I listen to the album in its entirety? No. Was it a really good, solid rock album? I agree with Ian. It was a solid rock album that was nowhere near what I term as an album, because the Foo Fighters, when they deliver an album, and it's beautifully packaged and it's great and it's tight right away through. Every song is tight. This was not the case with this album, but it was solid, and I grew to like it. And so if I was listening to the album again, I would skip the first three tracks. I would literally just skip them. They just annoyed me, and his vocals weren't really my cup of tea. But anyway, there we go. Right, so
yeah, I mean,
go on.
I would be inclined to agree. I think if this was a different band, I would have been like, yeah, it's a solid album.
Yeah,
it's decent. But because of what I've come to expect from the Foo Fighters, I think it just falls a little bit short of the mark, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, they're up against a band called the Defiants, and their album Drive. Who, you wondering, am I being defiant? Will I tell you all about them? Well, of course I'm going to tell. I'm not going to be defiant. I'll tell you, shall I? Defiants.
Tell us.
Defiants is a new band put together by Paul Lane, Bruno Ravel, Rob Marcello, 3 fabulous musicians who, as fans will know, intimately recognise, have all ties to popular 80s, 90s and 00s hard rockers, Danger Danger. Have anybody heard of Danger Danger? No. You have. Paul's nodding his head. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Best known for being the D2 vocalist on 4 studio albums for, of course, 12 years. Paul Lane is now coming back to work with his former bandmates Bruno Ravel and Rob Marcello, who are 2 pillars of the Defiants. The guys reunited the suggestion of Frontier's president, I can't pronounce his name, who really wanted the guys to offer the fans some new music. The resulting album is extremely exciting selection of songs, which is going to please not only D2 fans, but also all the fans out there who are into the classic sounds like bands of Bon Jovi, etc., etc. There it says, think New Jersey on steroids. Right, okay, let's crack on then. So, Ian, let's start with you on this one. Defiants. Have you heard of Danger Danger? I mean, most people look at you and go Danger Danger, but I mean,
see, you say Danger Danger, and I think High Voltage.
Oh, well, I like it. I like that pun. Yes.
No. I love my 80s big hair rock. Love it. Absolutely love it. Absolutely, Trish. Yeah, that's inside. I'm nodding my head and giving it all this. So I was really surprised. That I absolutely love this album as well. Absolutely love this album. If you do not like that lot, and this is probably possibly why Chris isn't actually here in person, because it is very reminiscent of that whole big hair 80s genre that Chris loves so much. Especially when you mentioned Bon Jovi, I'm like, I could see him just trying to log back in. Heard that, I went nope straight away. But absolutely just classic. The explosive opener, Hey Life, It really is. It's just grabs you by the kahunas and runs with you in that way. The epic 19 Summertime, and that is Bryan Adams, that's Bon Jovi, that's Whitesnake, that's Van Halen, that's everything rolled into one with a great, absolute classic. It's very, very clever lyrics as well, that 19 Summertime, because you get that great vibe, great feeling from it. It's awesome, powerful, cheesy, but also perfectly executed. We've heard so many trying to do this thing, and they just sound like really good support acts. Whereas this is a band I would pay to see as a headline act, because I think they've got their own style. Go Big or Go Home. To sing a song like that, you have to believe it yourself, and absolutely comes across. They definitely go big, so they don't need to go home at all. Also a nod to Miracle, delicious 80s ballad, and A Night to Remember. I think that you could best be said as an album to remember.
And I love the fact that as you're naming these songs, Trish is kind of mouthing and bopping away as she
Singing along to
as
them,
she
yeah.
kind of remembers them, really. So, Trish,
You'll find out in a little bit why I'm naming songs.
No, absolutely.
You'll find out in a bit.
No, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
It's what I do. I write down the ones that stood out for me, or I added to my cool song
Yeah.
list. Okay, Trish, I have a sneaky feeling, based on the reaction as Ian is talking, that you enjoyed this album.
Well, come on, you know me, guys. 80s rock, yes, Bon Jovi. I mean, what is not to love about this album? It's feel-good rock, taking me back to the youth of my teenage years in the 80s. 19 Summertime is an anthemic sing-along track. And I know we all know I'm not a ballad lover, but Miracle is a ballad that had me swaying along. I haven't listened to any of their other music, and I'd not heard of them before. But I'm guessing from this album, this is what their sound is like on previous albums. It's their bread and butter, sound-pleasing fans. And, you know, I like bread and butter. So this album is a feel-good fix when you're in need of a rock music, easy-to-listen fix.
Cool. Paul, talk about easy listening and your dulcet tones. Why don't we hear what you've got to say?
Well, of the melodic hard rock bands, Cry or Crea have been the standout this year. That is until Drive by the Defiants hit these eardrums. This is a stunner of an album. Fantastic variety of songs, singing guitars, and Paul Lane's vocals are soulful, and he's on top form throughout this album. Yes, there's undoubtedly a throwback to the 80s and 90s sound of Bon Jovi and bands of that era, but I believe this is the album those bands should have created. The album starts off with Hey Life, and it's probably something... I wish I knew the full title of that was there, because it's Hey Life, Get Out of My Way. And maybe Dave Grohl should have listened to this before doing his album. And Go Big and Big Home, which blast out the starting blocks. And there's no way the band could keep up at that pace. But even the power ballads and the less fast-paced songs are still strong as Lane stamps out his authority on these tracks. If melodic hard rock is your thing, then you will seriously be hard-pressed to find an album that offers more.
Wow, we're on a roll. But
we were on a roll.
We were on a roll. But Dave, I fancy, will be Defiant here. Or will he? Will he also be driving into the sunset? Dave, Defiance.
Yeah, no, you got to like this, didn't you, really? I mean, if at the end of the day, I mean, I like breaking out the air guitar, and this is perfect for that. The one thing I would say, Paul sort of touched on it a bit there, after the first sort of 3 songs, which are all bangers, for me, it does start to tail off a little bit. But it keeps up a decent enough standard that those first 3 songs are so good that I think, you can't really keep up with that standard, as Paul says, the whole way through the album. I would disagree with Ian and Trish. I think Miracle is pretty poor, to be fair, as a ballad goes. It's not really to my taste, but it's the only song on the album that I kind of got a tendency to skip. Apart from that, I mean, it's just a good, fun rock album.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Dave. You know, if you had to pick a rock ballad aficionado, it would be me. It would be one wah. Okay, that's my claim. You know, that I'll stick out here. And Miracle was okay. It wasn't an amazing rock ballad. And I agree with Dave. I think the first, I would say, Hey Life, What We're Waiting For. I loved them. I thought they were fantastic. Hey Life actually made it on 2 of my song lists, so I had to take it one off. I was like, what's that? Twice? Is that good? It's so good. I put it on 2. Yeah, I did. It's a cracking, good, solid album. I think my only kind of criticism is I think it would be the best of these melodic rock bands that have come out, but it was still reasonably generic. There wasn't anything new. It was just incredibly well produced, incredibly well performed, and yeah, I think I agree with kind of Dave on that one. I enjoyed it. Did I enjoy it? Yes, I enjoyed it. Did I love it? Yeah, it was all right. It was good. It was solid. I liked it. I liked it very much. I didn't love it, but I still really enjoyed the album. Oh, this is going to be a bit of a battle, I think, because now we're coming to it. The head-to-head, the votes. Who will we be spending our money on? Where will we be spending our hard-earned? Well, we'll call it 20 quid. Because that's, I think, roughly how much you spend on a CD or vinyl these days. I don't know. Anyway, right. So, Dave, we started with you. Then Foo Fighters. Give us your rating, my friend.
2.5.
2.5. Oh.
Yeah, it's just very middle of the road for them.
No, that's absolutely fair enough. Ian.
So I absolutely gave this a 5 out of 5, and I cannot wait to listen to their back catalogue now.
If you give this a 5, you wait till you listen to Medicine at Midnight.
I'm really excited to listen to it.
You wait till you listen to Medicine at Midnight. Wow. Okay. Paul.
I'm with Dave. 2.5.
Trish.
4.
4. I also ended up giving it a 4. I think I give it a 3.5 because it was Foo Fighters. Because it was just Foo Fighters. So okay, 18. So we've got a score of 18 there. So 18. Not a bad score. Not quite Hall of Fame. Defiants though. Let's find out. Ian.
Shock horror. This is 5 out of 5.
Yeah, the 5 machine. The 5. He is a 5 machine this month. Wow. That's 5 again. There we go. Trish.
The 5 from me.
Woohoo! It's another 5. My God, the 5 machines are flying out here. And Paul.
Yeah, if it just for that ballad, it'd be a 5. So it's a 4.5 from me.
4.5. That's a mighty big score for Paul. That's a mighty big score.
Especially for that genre album. 100%.
Mighty big. Oh, we're heading to a Hall of Fame territory potentially here. Dave?
4.
4?
Yes.
4? Wow.
Wow.
For Dave, that's a big score for Dave as well. 3.5 from me. 3.5 from me.
Hey.
So there we go. But that's still a big score. We're talking about 10. We're talking 18.5. We're talking 90. We're talking 22, guys. That's big.
Yes.
That is big. That is going to get that into our, certainly push it right up there to, I think it's our 4.2 is around about our top 10 for the year. So it's got a really good chance of potentially making it into the Album of the Year show. Hits into our Hall of Fame. Congratulations. So Danger, everybody! High voltage album.
High voltage.
Woohoo! Cracked on there, and certainly did super well. So
if I could have done, I would have given it an electric 6.
But
That's your favourite number, right?
Yeah.
Oh, 6, absolutely, of course,
absolutely, so,
definitely.
There we go. Anyway, everybody. Well, who would we buy though? Well, I'd buy Foo Fighters. Trish would buy Defiants. Dave would buy Defiants. Paul would buy Defiants. Ian, you tied Defiants or Foo Fighters. What are you going to buy?
So it's big hair 80s rock.
Defiants
over
with it.
Foo Fighters. And that, to be honest with you, that's I wouldn't know. But just listening to everyone saying here, which is, I guess, the reason for this podcast, it's made me think, okay, cool. Well, I'm not going to put my eggs in one basket. I'm going to listen to the other Foo Fighters album before choosing the Foo Fighters.
So you're going to buy the Foo Fighters?
No. I choose Defiance, but I want to listen to the other Foo Fighters items.
I'm the only one who will buy the Foo Fighters, so there we go. Right, okay, cool stuff. Not a problem. Congratulations to Defiance. You toppled the mighty Foo Fighters in this battle. Both albums, though, good score. Congratulations once again to Defiance for getting into the MPJ Hall of Fame. Congratulations, well done, everybody. And keep on listening, keep on rocking. Thanks to my crew, thanks to Trish, to Paul, to Dave, and to Ian. And please, if you've liked what you've seen, if you enjoyed listening to us ramble on, please like and subscribe our channel and check out all our other videos, and that would be amazing. We've got lots of good stuff on there as well. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.